Hi, my name is Steve from the Stone Crafting Workshop, and today I'm going to do a quick review of this. It's the Balco 4K action camera. I bought it from Aldi online and it cost me 50 quid. I've had this now for 3 months and I've used it, and in this video I'll cover the various features that it has on it very briefly, and I'll tell you whether I think you should buy it in the conclusions. When you buy the 4K action camera, it comes all complete and packed in a really nice sturdy travel case, and it comes absolutely jam-packed full of bits and pieces, clips and straps and stick-on pads, all to enable you to fit and mount the camera on various situations. It also comes complete with a cable, a USB cable for downloading your photos onto your computer or laptop. When it's supplied, the camera comes inside the waterproof housing. It comes complete with this waterproof housing, which according to the paperwork is waterproof down to 30 meters. And you can also use that if you were using on a bicycle in wet weather. There's a separate backing plate here, and it's actually got holes in the back of that backing plate, presumably so you can put a strap through or whatever. I haven't used it. You could probably spend a week playing with these bits and pieces, learning how to use it on the fitting. The camera itself, as you can see, is really small. It takes both video and still pictures, and it has a whole range of resolutions which you access through the menu. The one thing it doesn't come with is an SD card, which fits in the side, a micro SD card. You need to make sure that the micro SD card is type 10. The battery, it comes supplied with a single battery, is mounted, and that's the single battery. One of the limiting factors of using this particular camera is that the battery life isn't that long, and it would be really nice to have a spare battery, but it only comes with one battery. You can buy batteries for it online, but there's no maker's ID on this particular battery to let you know which battery it is. But I'm assured that if you go on eBay, you can buy a battery that has the same details on the battery at the back, but you have to buy that as an extra. This camera has a very wide angle lens that's common to these action cameras, but it does mean that if you take still photos or video, you're going to see that curvature in a lot of situations. In almost all situations you're going to see it, and that's the audio input where the microphone is. It's very easy to block that with your finger while you're holding the camera in this way, and that may explain why there's a lot of comment about the audio not working on these. Also, it should be noted that if you put this camera inside the waterproof housing, the audio will stop working, because you're putting it inside a sealed box. So that's all the equipment you get with the camera itself when you buy it. And let's quickly go through the modes of this camera and the menu. So let's have a look at the camera in a bit more detail. On the front you have the lens, obviously. On the top of the camera you have an M button and you have an OK button. And on the side you have an up and a down. You have 2 buttons, up and down. And you also have the audio input, the microphone input. And on this side you have the USB port, and that's for downloading your film onto a computer or laptop, or for charging the battery inside the camera. And you have an HDMI port, and that's obviously for watching it on TV. As we said before, the battery housing is in the bottom, To turn the camera on, you press the M button and depress it and hold it down. And the camera comes to life. You've got a range of information up the top here. The first one on this left-hand corner is that's showing you the video symbol, which tells you it's in video mode. If you press the M button once, it switches it to camera mode, which is still camera mode. And if you press it again, it takes you back to video mode. This section here is the memory left available to you on your memory card. There's a symbol that tells you that you have an SD card inserted in the camera, and a little microphone symbol that tells you the audio is on. And then this is a battery monitor that tells you how high or low your battery is. To start videoing, if you watch the little video counter, you press the OK button, and it's now taking video. And to stop, you simply press the OK button again, and thus it's stopped. At the bottom of the camera, you actually have the details of the settings, the resolution that you're taking the film on currently. At the moment, I've got this set to 1080p, 60 frames per second. Now you can change that and all the other settings on this camera by entering the menu system. To do that, you press the OK button and hold it, and we're now in the menu system. And to navigate around the menu system, you use the up and down buttons and the OK button. So if we navigate to this is the mode settings. Press OK, and we now enter the mode select. And this allows you to set the camera from, it's at the moment it's on video, but it also lets you set the camera for slow motion, loop, time lapse, to switch to still photography, and select things like burst photography and the timer. Let's go back into the menu again, and this time let's go to this setting. This allows you to look at the film, to view the film on the camera's memory. And this is all your settings. In this one you can select the recording resolution. As I say, at the moment I've got mine on 1080p, 60 frames per second. But you just scroll up and down using the up and down buttons, selecting the various settings that you want for your filming. And really that's down to practice and experience. Press the mode button again, press to exit. And that's pretty much all the features of the camera. So that's the Balco 4K action camera. Let's talk about action cameras in general. When I bought this, I knew nothing about action cameras, or how to use them, or what to expect. And although I'm still very much a tyro, I've learned a little bit. For a start, all of these now are being sold with 4K as a feature, a 4K quality resolution. And I suspect that in most cases it's a bit of a gimmick. The optical lens on a camera of this value, especially at the lower range, just isn't going to be good enough, I think, to take 4K quality film. It's highly unlikely anyway. And also, if you think about the way you use a camera like this, you're going to be mounting it on the handlebars of a bike and it's going to be jiggling around like crazy, or on a helmet and it's going to be jiggling around like crazy, or on the hull of a canoe. You're not going to be taking film that's going to be easy to watch in a very large format, on a very large format TV. So all in all, I'm not hugely, I wouldn't discount any camera that didn't do 4K, for example. I normally take all my film using this on 1080p, 120 frames per second, and that takes really good film. And that's the high definition resolution that you would normally upgrade to YouTube. Which brings me on to the second thing I've concluded about action cameras, is that you want to buy a camera, an action camera, that will take film as steady as possible. So you really want to buy one that's got image stabilization. Now, in a little camera like this, it probably won't be the best image stabilization in the world, but nonetheless, I would have thought under the extreme circumstances in which you're using this kind of camera, anything is going to be an advantage. The third thing I've decided about a camera like this is that you really want to be able to keep the thing going all day long. Obviously, if you're going out on a long trip or a day out with the family or whatever, and you're going to need spare batteries. And you also ideally want a separate battery charger, because charging through this camera, for example, it takes 4 hours to charge the battery. So if you go out and buy a spare battery, it's going to take you 8 hours to charge them both up before you can go out for the day. And the fourth thing you want out of these little cameras, because they're actually quite complicated. In general, they're easy to use, it's all push button, but there's such a lot of features. It would be really nice to have one of these where you had online tutorials and a website supporting your use and learning of how to use the camera. So let's talk about the pros and cons of this camera in particular. First of all, it's got lots of features. It has resolutions from 720p right up to 4K, and there are all sorts of settings to change the exposure, and there's burst photography. You can loop a video so that you can keep it running and watch it constantly. So there's a lot, it's packed with features, and that's obviously a good thing. It's easy to use. There's not that many buttons. It's easy to learn how to use, and it actually works very well. It actually takes good film. I quite like the film I take on this. And it comes with lots of bits, lots of accessories. I think if you use your common sense about these, you could probably mount this camera just about anywhere using the bits that come in the packaging. And the waterproof housing, it does work. I've used it for swimming in the sea. I haven't used it down to 30 metres. I tend not to sink that far. But on the whole, so it's got a lot of pros, and it is quite a lot for your money, really. The cons. What have we got against this little camera? Well, the first thing is it only comes with one battery. You can buy spare batteries on eBay, and it will cost you about £21 to £25 for 2 extra batteries and a battery charger. It's just a pity it doesn't come with an extra battery of its own. Secondly, there's no image stabilisation on this camera, not that I've been able to ascertain. It's not mentioned in the menu, it's not mentioned in the paperwork, it's not mentioned in the advertising. So I think it doesn't have image stabilisation. I have asked Balco customer support, I emailed them, but I haven't had a reply yet. My third quibble with this is that there's no website support. If you go to the Balco website and look at the details on this camera, the only thing on there is a digital copy of the book that comes with it. There's no video tutorials, no video explanations, there's no details about how to go through the menu. You have to work it all out yourself. And I think that's a bit of a shame. And the last thing is a slightly technical issue that I have, is that I'm finding the video on this camera difficult to edit. When I load them into it, I use a free editing software called Shotcut, and when I load it into it, when this film into that, it comes up and tells me it's a variable frame speed film. But in some cameras you can turn that feature off, so you get a constant frame video, which would then edit properly. And there is nowhere on this camera that I can find where you can turn the variable frame rate off. Slightly technical, but if you want to edit the film from one of these, it's going to matter to you. So, do I recommend you buy this? Well, no, I don't. And for many of the reasons we've already covered. It only has one battery. It doesn't have image stabilisation. And there are better cameras available with the same sort of package, with a waterproof housing, with all these bits and pieces, or with many of these bits and pieces, but also with a spare battery, and all for the same price. So sadly, I don't recommend this. I think you should look elsewhere, look on Amazon, and look at all the features available. Go through them carefully. Thanks for watching. I hope this is of some use to you. If it is, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're feeling particularly kind, subscribe to my channel and watch more of my reviews about various things and tools and my stone crafting videos. And if you do that, if you do subscribe, then thank you very much. And thank you again for watching.